What's the latest that you're hearing, Adrian?
Hey, Dan. Well, you're asking about Jimmy Butler. He's like Kawhi Leonard in San Antonio. He's a restricted free agent, which means, the Bulls are going to match any offer sheet, obviously, for him. They're not going to let him walk out. So he'll be back with Chicago next year. It'll just be a matter of what kind of contract he has. Either he can do a deal with Chicago or he can sign an offer sheet with somebody else, that the Bulls match. So he's not going anywhere.
Okay. We expect Karl Anthony Towns to go one, right?
Yes. That's the one clear-cut thing in this draft is Towns one. And, D'Angelo Russell has really done a tremendous job to not only get in the conversation at number 2 with the Lakers with Jahlil Okafor, but to now be a significant possibility for L.A. I spent some time with Russell a couple weeks ago out in L.A. and talked to him about his desire to play for the Lakers. This is a kid who's really, made a case to them and campaigned, and he wants to be the next Showtime point guard. He wants to come in and apprentice under Kobe and play with him and learn from him and then take that thing over. And, he's in the mix. Obviously a lot with the Lakers depends here on what happens with these discussions with DeMarcus Cousins and Sacramento. That's the Lakers' primary objective is to get Cousins. But short of that happening, they're choosing Okafor and Russell.
If they make the trade for Cousins, then they're giving up that number 2 pick. Is that part of the deal?
Yeah, absolutely. If any deal for Cousins would, the primary part of it would be that number 2 overall pick. Absolutely.
What do you think of I just don't like the Lakers building around DeMarcus Cousins. I know he's got numbers there, but he seems to be a stat guy over a standings guy. What's his reputation?
Well, he's as talented as any big man in the league. I mean, there's just nobody, there's no, as good as Karl Anthony Towns might be and Okafor, it's impossible to project that they're going to be better, that they're going to be 25-13 guys in the league. I think for Cousins, I think he needs a stable atmosphere. I think he needs structure. I think he needs a coach that he respects and that has Mike Malone did a tremendous job to build a relationship with him and build a partnership, and they were getting, they really had Cousins on board with him. Things have been there's been a lot of instability in Sacramento, beginning with ownership and the front office and the coaching staff, a lot of change. He needs a structured environment, and I think he'll really thrive in that. Now, the Lakers, they're still essentially a young team rebuilding here, but that's his goal now is to get to L.A. in a trade, and it's going to be up to Sacramento's ownership to decide to pull the trigger and make that deal, because the Lakers are certainly ready to do one.
Okay, so they have the deal. The Lakers' side is in place. They know we're giving up the number 2. Are you giving up Randall? Are you giving up Clarkson? And then in return you get DeMarcus Cousins?
Well, I mean, Sacramento sort of gave the Lakers the framework of sort of like the beginning of a conversation of what it would take. And as Sacramento should, they asked for everything.
Okay.
Julius Randle, Clarkson, multiple, the number 2 pick, other draft considerations. I like that term, draft considerations. So, but then they'll, listen, if Sac is serious about doing it, then they'll negotiate down from there. I think the Lakers are determined to try to hold on to Julius Randle and any possible deal for Cousins. And listen, they'd have to give up almost everything else. And they probably have to take on a contract. I reported that Carl Landry, which is kind of a dead contract on the books in Sacramento, you'd probably have to take on a contract like that as part of a potential deal. But it's something still in the preliminary discussion stages, and we'll see if it gains any traction as we get closer to the draft tonight.
Yeah, but if I can get my point guard, or I do get a big man, and I could get some free agents in there. I just don't understand the rush to get DeMarcus Cousins. Granted, he's a 25-12 guy, hard to find, but I can still get free agents in. If you said I can have, LaMarcus Aldridge or DeMarcus Cousins, I'm taking Aldridge. If Kevin Love walks into my door there, I don't know. I just feel
they don't. excuse me, Dan, they don't have any assurances they can get. They're not the front runner to get any of those guys. I think Kevin Love likely stays with Cleveland. LaMarcus Aldridge, if he leaves Portland, the Spurs are the number one target for him there. So the Lakers aren't really in a position where they're turning away, where they have the opportunity to turn away elite free agent players. And, Cousins is, at his age and his skill, he's potentially, listen, he's a more dominant player than LaMarcus Aldridge is, and he's going to be, I think he's certainly a superior piece to what Kevin Love is in the league.
All right. There's a couple of things to keep an eye on, and we'll let you be involved in this. Over, under, okay. When does Gordon Hayward's comparison or name come up or likeness when Sam Decker is selected? Will it be in the first 30 seconds, or will it be over 30 seconds?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that Decker he's an interesting player in this draft because I think Detroit has some interest in him at 8. I don't know that he's a focus. I don't know that he's at the top of their list. I think Decker's a guy who's probably going to go somewhere in, I think, the mid-teens, mid to late teens.
What about Kaminsky?
Kaminsky is really a hot name right now. Charlotte, Michael Jordan loves Frank Kaminsky at number 9. That's probably the earliest Kaminsky could go. I think Charlotte, if they keep that pick, there's a real chance, especially after they traded Noah Vonleh yesterday, their young forward. Kaminsky could go at 9. Miami really likes him at 10. And Phoenix just past them. He wouldn't get by the Phoenix Suns.
Best guess right now, the top 5 picks go how?
Oh, well, I obviously Towns, and then listen, I think Philly is pretty set on D'Angelo Russell if he's there at 3. This draft listen, things will shake up if Russell goes 2. Then what does Philly do at 3? Do they take Okafor because they can just auction him off down below them? From there, and again, the Knicks are a wild card at 4. Porzingis is intriguing to them. Justice Winslow from Duke at 4. And I don't think Porzingis gets by Orlando at 5. I think in whatever order, the wild card is the Knicks are the Knicks at 4. Do they go Winslow? Do they go Porzingis? Do they trade out of there?
Wow. Yeah, the Lakers, though, at 2. If you go big, you go Russell, or you go Boogie Cousins there.
Well, listen, if Sacramento is going to do a deal, if they're going to do a deal, then the Lakers are picking that player potentially for the Kings, but they're not there yet. They're not.
Okay.
Those discussions are not to the point where they're picking a player right now for the Lakers are picking for themselves right now, and I think there'll be some intrigue and drama today as we get closer about whether it's going to be Okafor or it's going to be D'Angelo Russell from Ohio State.
I know you're busy, Woj. Good to have you on. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Adrian Wojnarowski, Yahoo Sports NBA writer.